Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. Today's video is going to be on the subject matter of crisis actors, specifically for the clandestine services. Crisis actors who appear on your television screen or on your mobile phone as part of fake news delivery production system. Crisis actors for nationally presented events which may or may not be real. You can have a hoax, and you'll need crisis actors for a hoax, and then you'll need crisis actors for a real event where people get murdered or killed or blown up, like 9/11, the World Trade Center. I mean, they really did destroy all the real estate buildings down there at the Port of New York, which is who owned all those buildings. Most of the buildings were vacant, people. They were vacant. The Twin Towers were at least 70% vacant of any tenants. So it is a destruction of pretty much unused real estate. 0 people were murdered in building number 7. Okay, so that building was substantially full of tenants, but it wasn't imploded and vaporized until after 5 p.m. on September 11th, 2001. So 0 people died or were injured in building 7 collapse, just 47-story building. All right, and then in the Twin Towers, that's building number 1 and building number 2, we had hundreds of people killed in that, perhaps 2,500 people killed. I don't have the exact breakdown on that because we did have some casualties over at the Pentagon, where there are over 270 surveillance cameras throughout the perimeter of that property, and yet we've only really seen a short snippet of one camera from a hotel across the street. Don't you think that's a little unusual, that you have a national attack on the Pentagon and there is no photographs, no film, no video available for the public to view? I mean, if it really was a terrorist attack, we should really zero in on these evil terrorists, right? And we must have surveillance video of it, right? I mean, there must be at least 100 videos. But anyway, we only see a 4-second snippet. So I'm going to call poppycock on the Pentagon aspect of 9/11. I'm going to say there was a controlled demolition explosion within the building, because it looks like the missile or the drone or whatever that airplane or flying device was came up short, and it looked like it hit the lawn, which had been mowed recently, and looked like it hit the lawn and not the building. There's a fire station right there too, by the way. Pentagon has their own fire department, and the drone or clone or missile guided system, shame on Raytheon missile guidance contractor, because they're involved with the GPS tracking of all of these flying objects, right? So it looks like Raytheon screwed up on that. That's what I'm telling you, people, about these clandestine operations. They never go 100% according to plan. And I'm here to tell you that the 5G mesh and the 5G satellites overhead and the 5G towers in the perimeter of your city or within the city of Manhattan, New York, and then the mesh transponders, hey, those things can get broken, debris can hit them, they may not transpond very long, and hey, when things go wrong with the network, right, then things go wrong with the network. So if you're a banker out there and you're personally involved with wire transferring money to and from the contractors who are constructing our invisible prison known as the 5G techno-enslavement system using database management, palm print recognition, facial recognition, voice recognition, software, analytics, artificial technology, vax status, digital passport, central bank digital currency. If you're in any way connected to that, which most of you are, if you work in software development, if you work on applications, if you work on applied linguistics, if you're involved with, like Rachel Maddow is, applied linguistics presentations of poppycock to mass media through cable network. Another Stanford graduate, gone wrong, gone off the reservation, lost her way. Rachel Maddow, you've lost your way. You're out in the weeds there. I think a flying monkey's going to get you. That's what I think. But it's not necessarily the flying monkey that's connected up with the World Bank. It could be another flying monkey. Remember, people, for every initiative move to attack the public, for every assault, there's a counter move. Just like the kids that didn't want to be participating in the mandated conscription for the draft of the Vietnam War, then they created Sharon Tate's father to go after those pesky anti-war people and treat them like they're terrorists, give them free drugs and free love and Haight-Ashbury. That's what Sharon Tate's father was working on in the 1960s in San Francisco. He was an enemy of the California college system. That's who's eligible to be drafted, is kids that are not attending college or who are attending college and graduating but don't have jobs. That's who's eligible for the draft. You had exemptions, right? Dick Cheney would know about that. Exemptions. Oh boy, Henry Kissinger would know about that, right? I mean, these are the, what do you call, the chicken hawks. The chicken hawks that Henry Kissinger thinks that our military are stupid people to be used as pawns for political purposes. That's Henry Kissinger, Harvard alumni, Henry Kissinger. What a cowardly, treacherous, enemy of the people, Agenda 21 devotee Henry Kissinger is. And my last question, how come you're still alive, Henry Kissinger? You're over 100 years old. Enos Mejia checked out at age 100. Why can't you? All right, anyway, getting back to my story. My number one example metaphor is going to be the Sharon Tate, Abigail Folger, Tate-LaBianca, unsolved, unresolved murders, which we all know now were performed by the military, NATO-issue, United States Army, M7 bayonet, 7 for 7 inches. It's technically 22 millimeters wide. This is the spearhead, the business end right there. It's double-edged spearhead, razor sharp, carbon steel. And this weapon was used 103 bayonet strikes at the Cielo Drive property, which is really Bella Drive, or Sunbrook Drive. 103 bayonet strikes there. Now, there were more than that in terms of superficial wounds, defensive wounds on Abigail Folger and Wojtek Frykowski, and on Stephen Parent, the 18-year-old homosexual boy who was on his way to see an older homosexual man, script writer for Star Trek. William Shatner would have known him. Donald Gerard, not his real name, Jewish gentleman in Van Nuys. I mean, the reason I know that is that Donald Gerard, not his real name, has boasted that he had a date with Stephen Parent on, at 1 o'clock in the morning. What kind of a date would that be? You have an 18-year-old homosexual boy going over to see a 30-year-old homosexual man who has his own apartment in Van Nuys over by Studio City. And what are they going to be doing at 1:30, 1:45 a.m. in the morning, right? Looks like Stephen Parent's not going to go home to his parents in El Monte because he's going over to Van Nuys. The problem is he couldn't get through the gate because the gate mechanism had been disconnected whilst he was talking with William Garrickson in the swimming pool house, in the property that everyone wants to believe that was Sharon Tate's house. No, it wasn't. And then it was Rudy Alabelli's house. He's the owner and he's renting it. Nope, that's not true either. He's the fake owner. And he's in Rome, Italy. So he's not part of the story. But anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is the M7 bayonet goes into a sheath, aka holster, which has a leatherette attachment to tie around your leg so that this won't flop around when you're running, jogging, or hustling away from a crime scene. Now, there's a cielodrive.com website, which is a CIA website, and they call this a thong. They call it a thong so that you won't know that it's part of a sheath that's part of a NATO military weapon, It's a sheath holster, and it is not a thong, okay? This is not something that women wear to the swimming pool. This is to go with the M7 bayonet, okay? It's not a thong. I'm going to call it a ligature because you could strangulate someone with this. Tate-LaBianca had his wrist tied behind his back with this 43-inch leatherette ligature. And so did Tom Coomer, had his wrist tied behind his back with this. It's not a thong. All right. All right, so there are literally hundreds, if thousands of people who are murdered every year, and it is not reported or presented to us on television. So Geraldo Rivera, whose real name is Jerry Rivers, but Geraldo sounds, I guess, more theatrical, they don't present 99% of the people that get whacked, either in a military operation or a clandestine services assassination or a terrorist event. So let me just read a couple quotes to you, and we'll get this party rolling. William Shakespeare was quoted as saying, "All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players," meaning that the world is like a stage show, and all human beings are merely actors. Hold that thought. The next quote I'm going to read you, I have memorized, so I don't need to look at it. Erin Valente, age 33, an alumnus of Georgetown University School of Economics back in the swamp, Washington, D.C. She was murdered at 2500 Sand Hill Road, Menlo Park, across from Stanford University, where Sam Bankman-Fried isn't free. He's fried. Let me just be technically, legally correct here. I know we're under maritime law, so laws don't really matter, because people can accuse you of any kind of a crime without evidence in maritime law. Rumor, gossip is all the clandestine service works on, is rumor and innuendo. So laws don't matter. But anyway, to be less cavalier, let's just say that Erin Valente, age 33, she had an appointment with a managing director of a subsidiary entity of KKR, Jerome Kohlberg's private bank, which shares an office with Doug Leone, the creator of FTX, Sequoia Capital, which you don't hear a word about Sequoia Capital or Doug Leone in the Sam Bankman-Fried story or the Caroline Ellison story. You don't hear anything about that. I get, an update on the FTX like every 30 seconds for the last month. And nowhere have they ever mentioned Doug Leone. I had to go find that out on my own. Now, the reason that they don't tell you about Doug Leone, who's worth over $6 billion and attended Cornell University, Columbia University, and of course, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where Sam Bankman-Fried attended as well. And where Caroline Ellison's parents are professors of economics at MIT, where Noam Chomsky, thank God, no longer resides. He's moved on. But he was a applied linguistics liar, liar, pants on fire delivery system at university, using MIT as the platform, a CIA school that graduated the president of Israel, Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu, if I pronounced his name correctly, Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu, graduated class of 1975, MIT. And you should know that in years past, Benjamin Netanyahu has referred to the murdering of people using pulsing radio frequency direct energy weaponry. He didn't say 5G, but he referred to an invisible weapon known as radio frequency direct energy. And he used the metaphor of Melrose Place. Melrose Place, which is a television show. Don't you see how Hollywood actors and fake premiers like Benjamin Netanyahu, who's now the fake leader of Israel, which is 74% Jewish and 26% Christian or Muslim or Buddhist. It's the majority is Jewish people. But it's not 100% Jewish. Florida might be a good example, but they have fewer people that are Jewish in Florida. I mean, the number one concentration of Jewish people is New York, and then California, because of course we have Hollywood. And then it's Florida, where Ron DeSantis, the fake governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, who's really an army